First of all, I want to say Happy Advent to each and every one of you. Advent is an awesome, exciting time of the liturgical year. I love Advent, a time of waiting, a preparation, a time of realizing all that is about to happen Christmas Day, right? I saw Naomi a while ago standing over here, pregnant. Reminded me of when my wife was pregnant with our child. I have 4 children. And it's kind of like Advent, now that I think about it. Time of waiting, knowing that child was going to come into our lives. Preparation. I remember my wife was preparing the nursery. So we prepare ourselves, we prepare our lives for the coming of the Christ child. I remember also realizing that my life will change forever. Once that child came, our lives will change forever. But for the good, because it gave us an opportunity not just to give to each other, but to our child, our love for our child. It's an awesome feeling. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight, is something that has changed my life forever. I don't know if any of you have experienced a significant life-changing event in your life. Something that's happened that you say, man, that's awesome. That's something I'll never forget. Well, that's what happened to me when I was a little boy. I was around 5 or 6 years old when we woke up one morning. I'm the third of 4 children, and my sister is the oldest, and I'm the middle boy. We 3 boys in our family. We woke up one morning, and my mother was crying, and she had some sad news for us, because when I was, like I said, 5 or 6 years old, my mother said that our dad has left. Our dad walked out of our lives, and he wasn't to come back. So he walked out, moved out, and I didn't see him for a very long time. I didn't even know what he looked like when I was a young man. I remember my mother crying a lot, and she said, I get a little emotional when I talk of my mom. When you're little and you see your mom crying, someone who loves you so much, someone who's hurt her, I can't help but all of a sudden think about that moment. But my mom said, well, your dad's left, and we're on our own. We don't have any money, and my dad just felt that, for whatever reason, didn't need to provide us any financial support. So he walked out, and there goes all our income as well. So my mom said, well, we're on our own, but we have our faith. We have our love for God and our trust in God. And see, my mom always pointed us to Christ, always pointed us to Him, just like our Blessed Mother Mary points us to Christ. I have this parallel with her and Mary, Blessed Mother. She said, God will never abandon us. Don't worry. There's hope. So the first thing she said is we have prayer, we have God we can trust, and then we have our parish community, our faith community at our church, our Catholic church. And so she said, I am going to make sure that all 4 of you kids go to Catholic school. You need your faith formation. You need faith in order for you to get through all of this that you're about to experience in your life. And so the sisters there at the Catholic school knew all about our family. Somehow my mom was able to afford 4 kids going through Catholic school, I thought, until later I realized it was the parish that waived the tuition for all of us because of a hardship. And so that I will never forget either. I will never forget the sisters that were there at the parish. So I had my mother's faith in God and in pointing us to Christ, and we had our faith community and our prayer life. And when I was a little boy, I remember my mom kneeling before this picture, and you can see a picture of it there on the screens. She had this picture, and beside it she had a picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Good Hispanic family. Our Lady of Guadalupe was beside Jesus. So she would pray, and I would find myself kneeling beside her and praying. And then I remember seeing the eyes of Jesus in this picture. And I looked at the bottom eyelashes of this picture, and it appeared to me his eyes were closed. But then when I looked towards the eyebrows, I saw his eyes open. And it was just one of those moments that kind of made me think, oh my gosh, he is opening his eyes to us. He is looking at us and telling us he'll take care of us. That's how I felt when I was praying with my mom. Then my mom said, you know, we have no money. My mother was not educated. My mom struggled. We lived in this one-room part of a house that people invited us in, and we slept, all of us, in one room. And it was just a tough time. But she was out cleaning homes. She was washing people's clothes and ironing them. I remember her bringing laundry home, and she would be ironing, and I would sit on a chair next to her, and we'd have great conversations about her childhood and so forth. And I remember Mom saying to all of us, we can't afford to have food on the table. She said, I need all of you to go find work. At that time, I was 7 or 8 years old. And she asked us all, just find something to do to bring money into the home, so that way we could have food to eat. I don't know if any of you here ever woke up one morning and said to yourself, will I be able to eat today? Will I have something to eat? Because, see, when I was a little boy, I would go to sleep with a pain in my stomach. It was hurting so much. I would wake up with this same pain and reminded me that I hope we find food today. So my mom asked us to find work. I was 8 years old, and I said, I know what I can do. I can shine shoes. So I made this box. And this box was how I made money. See, I would go up to a perfect stranger on the street, and I would ask to shine their shoes for 10 cents. And they would put their feet here, and I would have all the shoe polish and everything here. And so I was quickly shining shoes, and I was trying my best to bring money home. And at the time, we were living, at that time, we moved into what they call the housing projects. I don't know if any of you know what the housing projects is, but it's a very low-income apartment complex. It's a government subsidized. The government paid for some of your rent and so forth. So it was not a good environment for us. It was a bad environment. Terrible influences, crime. I remember bringing my shoe shine box home, and some of the kids in the neighborhood knew that I was shining shoes, making money, and I was beat up on a regular basis. My money was taken. So here I was, bringing my little shoe shine box home, and I would get mugged. My money was then gone. And then I started to put my shoe shine box in a grocery bag to make it look like I had groceries coming home after I did my day of shining shoes. And I brought the money home finally to my mom, and she was so happy. She said, thank you, mijito, she said. Now we'll be able to help buy some food so you won't be hungry so much. So my other brothers and my sister did the same thing. My mother continued to try to work and so forth and do laundry, and sometimes she would be away from the home. I remember we got knocks on the door all the time from, it's like the Child Protective Services. I don't know if you know what that is, but neighbors would realize there were 4 small children home alone without a parent. I think my sister was 10 years old at the time. My youngest brother was like 5, 6. So here we were at home, all by ourselves, and we were told not to answer the door when people knocked on the door. And there were times when my mother had to go to court and fight to keep us because they were going to take us and split us up, and we were going to be in foster homes. But thanks to God, we managed to stay together. But we found our way. With the help of prayer in our parish, we were able to then at least be together. Just be together. That's all we wanted. Just didn't want to be separated. Hungry? Okay, but together is what we wanted. Well, I remember, this is going to be kind of hard for me, but this is what I really want to share as my gift to you. This event that happened in my life. Well, Christmas Eve came along, and my mother said, well, as you can see, we have no Christmas tree. I can't afford a Christmas tree. So she said, as you can see, I can't afford gifts for you either. We have no money to buy gifts. So there won't be Christmas tree or Christmas gifts this year. So we decided that we would make our own little Christmas tree. We got a piece of cardboard, and we shaped it into a cone. And we placed the cone on top of a tall square box to make it look like it's sitting right on a tall box, like it's the trunk of the tree. And then we got newspaper, and we started ripping little strips of newspaper up, and we glued it on our little cone-shaped Christmas tree. And we found a ball, toothpicks, and we stuck toothpicks in this ball, and we placed it on top of our little Christmas tree. And then that Christmas Eve, my mom said, well, we can exchange gifts if you want find something that you can make or something that you have that you want to give to each other. We exchange gifts, we exchange names, and so we quickly ran and started making something, or we started finding something that we can give as a gift to our brother or sister, and we wrapped it up. We were trying to hide it from the other, and it was just an exciting time for us. I remember we brought our gifts to the tree, and then we started singing Christmas carols. I'll never forget that. We were singing in Silent Night, and so we went to sleep that night. We woke up the next morning early to get our presents. I'll never forget what I got from my brother. And I loved it so much. It was a number 2 pencil, but it was unsharpened. It was a brand new number 2 yellow pencil that he wrapped up for me. I hugged him. And he got a piece of metal that my older brother found, and with a nail, he hammered out, "Merry Christmas, love your brother." And that's what my other brother got. And so these were gifts that we made or gave to each other that we owned. We just loved it. That Christmas morning, we just sat there and hugged each other and said, we may not have food for our Christmas meal, but we have our love. Well, soon thereafter, there was a knock at our door. And this was Christmas Day in the evening, at nighttime, later that evening. I remember the knock at the door, and someone was talking to my mother, and they said, "Can we come in?" I didn't know exactly what was happening, but she said, "Sure." Well, my brothers and I went to the window, pulled the curtain back, and that night we saw people unloading gifts from their trunk of their cars and bringing bags of groceries into our house. And they were holding candles, and they were coming up the sidewalk, and they were singing Christmas carols to us. My brothers and I were sitting there in the window looking, and tears were running down our eyes, wondering, why us? We don't know these people, but they were bringing us food and all these gifts. Didn't know why so many, but we saw all that was happening, all of the love that these people were providing our family at the time. And I felt that, these were later, I realized, family members from our parish that realized what was going on. And so they brought all this food. They wished us a Merry Christmas, and they left. My mom closed the door, and she fell to her knees, crying. I went up to my mom, and I put my hand on her shoulder, and I said, "That's okay, Mama. That's okay. Somehow, some way, I'm going to find a way to pay them back. I'm going to find a way to give them what they gave us." See, my mom was a proud woman. She wasn't out for food stamps or any of that. She felt it was important for us to make our way, for us to work, regardless of age, to bring food into our home. So it was kind of hard on her, but I promised her that I would repay these people for all they did for us. Well, as I got older, we found our way out. We finally moved out of the housing projects where I wasn't always beat up all the time. How nice that was. But we also found our way, and I remember when Kurt asked me to give this story, share this with you. I was sitting in church last Sunday, and I was listening to the gospel reading. It's from Mark chapter 1, verse 2, and it says, "Behold, I am sending a messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way." And I kept thinking about that verse and kept thinking about that last Sunday. And I came home and I read my daily devotional, it's Living Faith daily devotional. My daily devotional for that day, it was titled, "Messengers of God's Love." And the scripture reading again, "Behold, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way." And of course, the author of this article says that these words apply to John the Baptist. But these words also apply to all of us. We prepare others to recognize Jesus' love by what we say and what we do. The author says, he has experienced care and faithful friendship from those who have loved him. All of these people were messengers of God's love, for they revealed to me what God's caring is like. You see, it struck with me that the importance of why the Holy Spirit was turning me to read this devotional, because that's exactly what happened to me and my family when I was a little boy. You see, I experienced these messengers of God's love coming into our home and sharing what they had with us. And you know, when I thought about it, isn't that the greatest gift, the greatest gift that we can give to one another? Really, it's not all the presents, it's not all the running around and dealing with all of the commercial part of Christmas. It's about sharing and being a messenger of God's love. So you're probably saying, well, that's well and good. How can I be a messenger of God's love? I know what I do. I open my eyes to the people around me. And I look for opportunities. When a neighbor is down the street who's elderly and can't mow their yard or rake leaves, I just go over there. Just rake their leaves. That's being a messenger of God's love. If there's, like in our neighborhood, there is someone who has been deployed to Afghanistan, they're coming home for Christmas. My wife and I are going to babysit their children so they can spend time together. Those are things you can do, right? And then there are people that stop at intersections and they're holding signs, hungry, need help. When I see hungry, I'm all over that. I can't just walk away. So if I'm not giving them money, I load myself up with gift cards. McDonald's, wherever. I always carry these cards with me so that way I can hand these out to people who are hungry, people who need help. You guys can do that, right? When I see people who need clothing, I get Target gift cards or Walmart or whatever. Hand it to them. Sometimes at work, I look for people around me, and I see this little old lady that's much older than I am, but she's cleaning our office. Little Hispanic lady, and I try to speak Spanish best I can, and anyway, we hit it off so well. She's not well off. So I put a lot of money in a little envelope and I gave it to her and I said, this is for you. Someone asked me to give this to you. So she can go home and feed her family, right? It could be people at school, the lunch ladies. You can give them a gift card or a little card with money, right? We can all do that. You just have to be sure that you stop and focus the attention away from you to those around you. And you say, that person obviously needs help. I'm going to find a way to help them. So my challenge to you, all of you, is to go home, talk to your family, and just say, Mom, Dad, how are we going to be messengers of God's love during this time of Christmas and Advent? How are we going to be that way? Okay? Somehow, I bet you'll find a way. And maybe, just maybe, you guys will find someone that will have a significant life-changing event in their lives by the very thing you did. Because it happened to me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.